Suddenly, the sentence spread faster than anything Jungkook had ever said before. Not a song, not a dance challenge video, not a comeback announcement, but a call to young Koreans not to hesitate, not to be afraid, not to even delay taking part in the military. Not a few were crying, surprised, even angry. But more than that, a lot of people are watching. What exactly is behind this appeal? And why would it come from a Jungkook, a global icon, a global star, the golden child of K-pop who has always been known for his gentleness and smile? This is not just news about conscription. This is a story about courage, about the contrast between the sparkling world of celebrities and the harsh reality of being a citizen, about a person who has given everything for the world, then suddenly decides to recall his most basic identity, the country boy. When Jungkook announced he would serve in the military, the public reaction was already divided. There were tears, there was support, there were worries, and there was also wild speculation about his future. But no one expected that in the midst of the process, amid the sweat and harsh discipline of the military, he would appear not as an idol waiting for free time, but as a figure calling, "Come on, you too." A video quickly spread in the online community showing Jungkook standing tall in full military attire. He's not smiling. His eyes are sharp. Behind him, a line of fellow soldiers stood in silent formation. In that quiet atmosphere, Jungkook's voice sounded loud. "Don't be afraid of the call of the state. Do not submit to comfort. If I, whose life is full of luxury and freedom, can stand here, so can you. It's time to stop running." The phrase immediately became trending across Korean social media. Even the international media is watching. CNN Korea picked up the big headline, "Jungkook's military call, a national movement or hidden message." Japanese media called it the most shocking patriotic exclamation in K-pop history. And the army? They split. Some immediately wrote an open letter full of pride, others questioned his motives. But most can only cry. What many people don't know is that Jungkook's call was not spontaneous. In several documents later leaked by unidentified sources in entertainment industry circles, it was revealed that during the last few months before enlisting, Jungkook secretly held secret meetings with key Korean military figures. One of the officials was even quoted as saying, "He didn't just want to come. He wanted to change the way people saw conscription." The question is, why? What makes a global star, who can choose silence and exit smoothly, suddenly become like a military spokesman? Several theories began to emerge. Some say this is part of a major South Korean government project to restore the image of conscripts who have been branded scary and cruel. There were also speculations that Jungkook had experienced something during training, a major incident that changed his outlook on life, responsibility, and sacrifice, while others believe it is a form of guilt. Guilt for living too long in the spotlight of the world, while he feels that he has not given enough to his own homeland. To be sure, after the video went viral, everything changed. Patriotic messages sprang from the fans. Even some Korean influencers who had previously publicly expressed their reluctance to enlist now turn around and say, "If Jungkook can say that, who am I to shy away?" However, not all parties are happy. Several NGOs and civil rights groups voiced concerns. They consider Jungkook's appeal to be a propaganda tool. One activist even wrote, "We love Jungkook as an artist, but dragging public figures into the narrative of militarism is a dangerous step. He may not realize it, but he is playing a bigger game than himself." And therein lies the controversy. Is Jungkook really speaking from the heart? Or is he being used as a tool by a greater power? Why did his statement come at such an opportune time, when the participation rate of voluntary conscripts is plummeting? Then, another leak emerged, this time from a former military trainer who had handled Jungkook's initial training. In an anonymous interview, he said, "There were nights where she cried. Not because of physical fatigue, but because of inner conflict." He said, "All this time I have lived for the world. Now, I want to live for my own land." It wasn't acting. It's real. The quote is like slapping the public. Suddenly, Jungkook's appeal no longer sounded like propaganda. It sounds like a prayer, like a whisper from someone who has just discovered the true meaning of home. And then, the biggest surprise came from HYB's own side. In an official statement, they stated that Jungkook was currently writing a personal journal during his enlistment, and that the journal was planned to be published as a book titled Soil, Sweat, and Me. In an early snippet leaked to the media, there is a very disturbing sentence. I don't want my children to think that their father only sings. I want them to know that I once fought, not on stage, but on the ground that gave birth to them. Does this mean that Jungkook is preparing for a new phase of life? Is this a sign that it is beginning to abandon its global identity to become something more local, more roots? Or is this all just the beginning of a grand plan that we don't yet understand? A plan involving the military, the media, and the masses? No one is really ready for this side of Jungkook. The figure, which has always been an oasis of tenderness in the midst of the madness of the entertainment industry, has now turned into a symbol of constancy that shakes the conscience. It no longer belongs only to the grandiose stage, expensive cameras, and sparkling light. In front of his people, he now stood in a modest uniform, letting sweat run down his cheeks, and spoke without a script. Not to sell songs, not to promote the album, but to invite a generation to look back at the land where they were born. And for the first time, Jungkook's tears were not for the fans, but for the nation. In one of the internal military documentary videos that was leaked and then spread in the online community, Jungkook appears sitting alone at the end of the training field. It's getting late. Field floodlights dimmed. In the distance came the footsteps of the coach who was still monitoring the new cadets. But in that corner, Jungkook, the idol of the world, sat on his knees, wearing an oversized, worn-out military jacket, with trembling hands clutching his own notebook. The camera caught a glimmer of light from her eyes wet with tears. Then he spoke, slowly. I thought I had given everything. Songs, energy, time, love. But it turned out that there was one thing that I had never been given, myself, without a stage name, without glitter. Just me, as John Jungkook, the son of this country. The sentence shook. Online comments flooded every platform. Soldiers from all over the world wrote, "You have given more than enough, Jungkook. Don't hurt yourself." But some Korean youth just suddenly pondered. A Korean university student wrote on Twitter, "I'm embarrassed. I often avoid enlistment with the excuse of studying, when people like Jungkook are willing to give up everything. Who am I?" The most heartbreaking was a letter from a high school boy that went viral. He wrote by hand, then took a picture of the letter and uploaded it. "Hyung, I'm afraid of conscription. But if you can, I'd like to try. Because if you can cry and keep moving, maybe I can stop running too." The letter was highlighted by national media. Even the defense minister called it the biggest psychological impact that one public figure has had on the national narrative in the last 2 decades. But all that, as it turned out, was not the climax. A few weeks later, another video leaked from the military camp where Jungkook was stationed. Not a professional camera, not secretly recorded by the media, but taken by a fellow soldier, his own roommate. In the video, Jungkook sits facing a wall, then stands up slowly and starts singing a song that no one has released yet.